Believe the Mormon Church has harmed women with false prophetic counsel. Sister Johnson was recently sustained as the general president of the primary and graduated from the University of Utah in 1985 and from law school in 1989. So in 1981, she would have been a freshman in college about to make some big life decisions. As a Mormon, one would naturally look to the prophet for guidance. In that same year, in 1981, Ezra Taft Benson, soon to be prophet, said this to the women of the church, quote, "Beguiling voices in the world cry out for alternative lifestyles for women. They maintain that some women are better suited for careers than for marriage and motherhood. These individuals spread their discontent by the propaganda that there are more exciting and self-fulfilling roles for women than homemaking. It is a misguided idea that a woman should leave the home." So it's a very cringy talk. So I don't know her situation and I know nothing about women's issues, but it looks to me that she openly disobeyed prophetic counsel. She went to law school and had a law career for 30 years. Prior prophets have been saying the same thing for decades, so it wasn't new revelation. I'm sure she heard it in sacrament meetings and young women's lessons, and she ignored them all. So, a couple of personal anecdotes. My wife met a woman checking groceries at Walmart. She was a faithful LDS woman who heeded the prophet's voice and skipped education to marry and have 7 children. Later, her husband left her and the children, and now she's the sole provider at a low paying job. My daughter was taking classes in college and met a woman in the exact same situation, having to get an education to provide for her family after divorce. She followed the prophet too. My own wife, who followed the prophet's counsel to stay home while going through her faith transition, painfully wept on the floor many times. I was still in the church and we were on the brink of divorce for our differing views, and she had followed what God had revealed to the prophets to forego career in order to have babies and support me. With tear-stained faces, she looked at me and asked, "What will I do? Where will I go?" And it broke my heart. The woman I loved felt completely helpless after following men who claimed to speak for God. And by the way, this is a significant part of what broke my shelf, is they hurt my wife. But there are some women, like Sister Johnson, who ignored the prophets. They ignored the commandments of God to stay home and not have careers. So what of them? Were they punished for their disobedience or disciplined? Nope, the church applauds them and holds them up. They make them leaders. They are made examples. I'm not saying that these women are bad. They have great accomplishments. They contribute. They are assets to society. I totally disagree with what the church taught. My problem is the hypocrisy of the church and the lack of responsibility the Mormon leadership exhibits. They make proclamations from God, but when convenient, they ignore, contradict, or gaslight the members. Their advice has hurt and confused people, and it still does. Their advice is not from God. A prophet spoke, and it was poor counsel that they did not follow themselves. They are false prophets. Again, this is nothing against Sister Johnson herself. I'm sure I would like her personally and probably hire her for her legal expertise. But the fact remains that the church commanded one thing about the role of women, and in their hypocrisy, they have elevated women who ignored the prophet. They are inconsistent, they do not speak for God, and take no responsibility for the damage they leave in their wake.